Life is a garden, and we are all gardeners. We decide we want to plant seeds in the inner and the outer garden. We want to use borders and boundaries on the inner and the outer garden, and we always need to use maintenance because maintenance matters. So there's so much comparing the inner garden and the outer garden. And life is a garden. Today, my podcast is going to be a little bit different because we are in a little bit of different times. So it feels like my entire world in the last few weeks has come crashing down around me between fury and fire, politics. It's just been so crazy. And I've taken lots of it in, and I don't seem to be able to find a way to put it out that's not negative and scary and has me reeling in all kinds of what the fuckisms. And I don't want that anymore. So I decided today's podcast, I would invite my friend Orly, who was my first guest in my old house of my first podcast. I think I've done 14 since. And there's two reasons I invited her. One, because I adore her. Mm-hmm. And two, because she is a psychic medium that understands life. And I feel like this is a really good time to open up some discussions on where we are heading, how we got here, and what can we do about it. We're not going to get too deep into one thing or another, but we're going to talk about, I got a few questions that I made. So first, I'm going to let Orly introduce herself. You guys might have met her on my first podcast, and if you haven't, you should, because she tells a whole bunch of good stuff there. And then we're just going to get into the discussion on life. So, Orly, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Give us a little insight so everybody knows how you got here, and then we'll go to the next.
Okay. How did I get here on planet Earth?
Exactly. Are you my
mother? Oh my gosh. Well, we're definitely connected.
Right.
Basically, I've always had this feeling that there is more to life than meets the eye, that there is something deeper, very always in my thoughts from a young age, looking at things, knowing that there's more here. I would have dreams, I would like fly in my dreams, and
were you a kid or were you a grown up?
Yeah, as a kid, I would like have flying dreams. I'd have these dreams where I go up this elevator and I meet like this light, and like looking back, I'm understanding they were all like, hello, we're here, kind of like, wow. Pay attention. Like they were showing, as a kid, my imagination was really wild. And I think that's because I was alone a lot at a certain age. So anyway, so all of that, just really curious about life and having big questions constantly, like what is God? What is there, and then just being spiritual my whole life.
Because your parents were?
No, I just had this mysticism in me, like wanderlust, like this mystic side.
Witchy woman.
Yeah, just curious. And then had this huge experience also at the age of 21 where I was like, now looking back, it was like these downloads, but didn't understand anything. And went into like theater and I'll later connect it, but everything you learn in theater is basically what I believe now is that they're giving you the tools on how to receive divine guidance. And that's the information that's been retained over time. So if you look at like, that's also how we passed information from generation to generation through theater, actually, and how humanity has developed. Oh. And so there's a lot of basic information, like we would do exercises, like at Lee Strasberg, like you put your arms back and the sun comes in and you bring in the light through your body. All of that is all of the exercises. again, about you're bringing in a character and you're becoming the character.
Never saw it that
And
way.
like you are embodying the character. These were all tools for visualizing, becoming, all manifestation tools. So that came in recently where I'm just like, oh my God, I got all these tools in acting school. So, but then with all that process, my father passed away, trying to keep it short. My father passed away in 2020. And with his passing, I just had a huge awakening. I realized how spirit communicates with us. Everything had, it's almost like my awareness woke up, and heightened awareness where all the answers are here, understanding and deciphering signs and how they speak with us, and then literally hearing. And then I just started practicing with friends because I was communicating with him. But then I was like, with a friend, I was like, did your grandfather look like this and this?
You've done it with me?
Right. And then I allowed myself to go there, and it just felt like coming home to who I am. So I just came home to my spirit, who I am. I love it. We're all telepathic beings. That's where we are now, right now, in this day and age, where people are awakening to their gifts, their natural gifts. And if we allow ourselves to explore, like, what's my natural gift, and I'm able to bring it into reality, into this space and the humans, then. And I enjoy many other things. And sometimes it's a balance of like, I need to make money on this earth. But like,
oh, that little detail.
Right. But how do we do that? How do we step into our full light potential? But I feel like we all have supernatural gifts.
Did you hear that?
Like,
all of us.
All of us supernatural gifts. And we're stepping into a time right now. I don't know where I'm looking, but whatever.
Just like, keep doing. You can look any of those.
Everyone is gifted with supernatural gifts. And when we finally realize what our unique special gift is, we're going to be living in a dimension where like we're all utilizing these wonderful gifts, sharing them with each other, and living in a heightened, a different, you can call it dimensions, all this language is like a different dimension, different reality, but we are stepping up. So telepathic communication is now really coming in strong. You're going to see a lot more people who are just telepathic. I don't know if you've heard of the telepathy tapes.
Nope, tell me.
It's like a new podcast that just came out, and it just went viral because it's kids who are autistic, and they found out that they are telepathic, delivering information to each other. Telepathically, and they like documented it. Wow. And so, but it's like it's a I haven't listened yet fully.
So how old are these kids?
Like 8 years old or older. Yeah, they all.
I do believe we all have it in us. Somebody told me. I mean, my parents used to call me a witch when I was a little girl, and I hated it. But they did not mean the witch with the big hair on the chin. They meant like witchy woman. Yeah. And so I do know, and now I embrace it and love it, which is exactly why I wanted you on today, because I feel like we all need to figure out how we can reach. I mean, not everyone needs to be a psychic medium, but where is it in us that we can find some peace? Mm-hmm. And no matter what's going on around us, even if we don't like or we like the people, we got to figure out how we can be here, because we can't go anywhere really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I love that. And so you've been honing in on yours.
Yeah. Honing in and really stepping into what brings me joy and following my intuition, doing the things that make me happy, even if it doesn't make sense. I try, it's interesting, like people have the set schedule. We enjoy, the brain will bring up a lot of fear. And I have to do things this way, otherwise, ... But when you start listening to that internal whisper and the intuition, and you figure out what it sounds like they're literally magic, literally unicorns magic. You start to believe that it exists. And when you start believing that it's available, then you see more of it. And also, like you were just saying, I was like attracts like. So energetically, if you're in light, and that's the dangerous part too of saying like, it's all love and light. It's not about that. There's
Right.
darkness and light. There's the different aspects that come in, but energetically speaking, when we're in our light, all the circumstances, you look at, your perspective is different.
Right.
So the perspectives changes how your reality is perceived and how you perceive things.
100%.
And so that's when bad things happen to you, or there's a fire, or there's politics. If you take it as if this is the most devastating thing, as opposed to this is actually teaching me something. How can I grow from this? It's a gift that I've been given at this moment in time. But that's the change in your perspective.
Right, which is why we're here today.
Right.
So I love this thinking, and I also feel like if we can take a couple of good crumbs and throw them together, we get ourselves a little biscuit, and then we throw a few more good crumbs, and before we know, we got a cake, and a meal.
I love that,
So I
Alicia.
want to do that. I want a meal that feels and tastes delicious, even
so good.
if the world, because that's not changing around us. So I realize there's certain things I just have no control over, and those are all the shit that's bugging me. So I thought maybe you and I could come up with a few good reasons and how we can move ourselves away. I also want to share that I found this girl on Instagram. I don't know her name, but I'll figure it out. And she talks about this thing called lucky girl syndrome. And I like it so much because she said in 1 minute you can wake up and be like, it's raining, I have no work, I have to deal with this politics situation, my kids are in trouble, and then your whole day goes that way. As opposed to waking up and saying like, oh my goodness, it is raining, but it's only supposed to rain for an hour. I can go back to work. I can be outside today, like finding those little things, those crumbs that are chocolate as opposed to those crumbs that are bitters.
Right.
So I came up with a little handy dandy list of questions. I did get some help. I asked around to some of my best people and said, if you could talk to somebody that can see a little ahead of you and a little behind you, what would you ask? So I came up with a list of questions. I would say the 4 questions like Passover, but these are the 5 questions. So we'll have our own little Passover. So I'm just going to read them off and we can talk about them.
I just love you just mentioned Passover. I'll tell you why
Oh,
later.
go for it.
Because it's like, guys, just listen to a podcast with Rabbi. He's the Love Rabbi. I love him so much.
The Love Rabbi?
The Love Rabbi. And he was talking about, because we're right now in the week, also we're headed towards, Passover, which is those that were held hostage in a sense into freedom,
Right.
which is exactly parallel to what's happening in our reality. So I want to say that even if you look in the Torah or at the Bible, it's literally
Well, Easter, I mean,
right. It's paralleling our life right now. That's one thing. But he was talking about the Pharaoh and Moses and what they symbolize. And he was really going in depth on this episode about Pharaoh actually is Olef in Hebrew. It's this part of the neck. It's the connection between the brain and the heart. And when it's here, it's like there's a disconnect between the heart and the brain. And he was going into in depth about how Moses was actually taken out of the water, and the water symbolizes the values and the heart and the light, and Pharaoh with his strictness, the ego, and how that constricts us and stops us from being, the limiting thoughts and beliefs.
Right.
And when you push the limiting thoughts away, it was just what you were describing. You're in light.
so would we call that Pharaoh consciousness and Moses consciousness?
Yeah, totally. You
Well,
could.
bring me on
Yeah.
with the Moses consciousness.
Yeah.
That little basket case that he was.
And he was talking about the fact that he had a hard time speaking.
Right,
too,
exactly.
Right?
They call him the silent leader,
Yeah.
which is so juicy. I mean, I love him for that.
All of that. I recommend listening to that specific
Okay,
one.
I love
it's
it.
like all about the heart. It's all symbolism. Everything. So that's another thing about the language of spirit and how we connect to this energy.
Right.
It's energy. It's the energy you're connecting with. It's like the magic girl you're talking about.
Right.
And it is all a symbolic language. Once we understand that our senses are part of our being and we can tap into feeling and, the emotional part of it, that energy creates worlds.
I love that so much because you don't have to take the Bible literally. None of
Right.
this stuff has to be literal. Nothing. I mean, Orly and I can talk about Judaism all day long, but no one's religious in this group, you know? There's all kinds of spirit in all of this stuff. And that's all I really do want to talk about is just to be with good spirit. I've talked about this before. Are you a builder or are you a destroyer? Are you Pharaoh or are you Moses? You know, are you this? Are you that? And I also want to say parts. Maybe you can be part Pharaoh and part Moses.
Yeah, it's just not to let one part overtake the other part.
Right. Parts are so big and important, but they're parts, you know. Part of me wants to get rid of everything I have and change, and the other part of me is like, no, I love part of this, you know. So nothing is like straightforward or there's parts. That's another part of becoming spiritual and realizing that.
Right. It's layers, it's layered. So there's the actual story that we're listening to because there's a lesson in the story, but there's the deeper layer, which is the spiritual aspect.
Right.
So when we can take a look at our life with a deeper, looking in that deeper layer, there's a lot of answers there for us.
Right. We got to peel back the
Peel
layers.
back the layers,
Right.
yeah.
So this is all, I mean, none of this is new, but if you look at it in a way that it sounds like hoodoo guru or this is too orthodox for me, you miss the whole point because it's in here for the layman. You just need to learn how to tap into it.
Yeah. And just also, tap into it when you're down, when there's I keep like swifting away. I know you have the
No, keep
questions,
going. I
but
love
like,
this is important.
guru, you were saying just today. So this is an example of how answers come to us and how we can raise your vibration or come out of the darkness. Literally today, you just said the word guru. This is how we are telepathic beings. This is how the answers are in this moment right now. Literally 3 hours ago, I was listening and the guy that came on was talking about what is guru actually. Guru, the meaning is light and dark. I never knew that.
I didn't either.
Like ru is light, gu is dark.
Oh
and
my
when you
gosh.
is
that Indian?
Yes, I guess. I can't recall. That's the thing. I retain what I remember in that moment.
That is crazy.
But that's the
So
balance.
we all
What
got
is a
guru in
guru?
us.
Yes, but the balance is of the light and the dark. When you find the balance,
The parts.
the parts, and you walk the path in the middle, then, we all want to be in the light all the time.
Right.
But it's
No
like
such thing.
we're living on Earth. It's a physical plane, but when we can bring that light in and experience it here in this like a magical swimming pool, you realize that the answers. So if I don't have an answer, I don't know. I'm really struggling with like, what am I going to do? Do I go do this or do this? All you have to do is open up yourself to receiving the answer in a different way.
So what does that look like? How would I talk to the universe if I wanted an answer in a different way?
Right. First of all, I always say, like, take time, because it takes time for the universe to get your question, what you're praying and asking, to receive. It takes a little time to conjurate the circumstances for you to receive the answer. So take a break, like take a deep breath. It's like, I'm okay. I have everything. And it's about you. It's not, if you're struggling with a certain person, it's not about them. You're not trying to find a solution to solve the problem I have with the person. It's personal. So like, it's questions that are who, what, where, why, and how are the type of questions you want to start asking your higher self. How can I go about this? Why am I experiencing this right now? What are my next steps? So you're opening yourself up to, you can then jot down your answers automatically, right? But you can put it out, show me, like asking God, show me my next steps, that they become clear. And what does show me the next steps look like? It could be that I'm asking for a blue balloon. If I'm supposed to do ABC, show me a blue balloon. If I'm, that's one way you can start playing with your intuition.
So you can
and
get
start
that detailed.
That detailed. so that you can start receiving confirmation from yourself. It's about you confirming from yourself why I'm making this move right now. I'm like on the verge. I don't know if I should take the jump or not. You're tapping into your intuitive place to know how you receive your answers. So it's a game of you trying to figure out, but there are tools, right? So it's like the asking the open-ended questions in meditation, going into meditation, asking for a sign, start playing with the universe, like even just as a game to see. I want to see a yellow elephant and wait, let it go and see it appear. And then you're like, oh my God, I
asked and
I
I
asked, I
received.
received. That means I'm communicating with something right here.
So will you literally see a yellow elephant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally see it, but it won't necessarily be it'll be either in a book,
Right,
it'll
of
be
course. I know
someone
you're-
singing a song, The Yellow Elephant, and you're like, oh, but you'll have the aha moment when you realize how it can appear in many different forms.
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see a yellow elephant walking down the street.
Right.
But be open to how that yellow elephant's going to come across. And I also do believe that's all true too. We always talk about the pause because you got to hit the pause. It's so easy to be like, oh, this is all horrible and the whole thing's just shit story. No. We got to decipher and pull things apart and ask questions. Bring in your angels. So today I want to bring in angels. Okay. So is that who you usually, are you talking to God? Are you talking to angels? Are you talking to your father? Who do you talk to when you want guidance?
I will talk to my father, but for me, when I go in to receive higher guidance, it is with, I want to say, my higher self and my guides. So I do have guides there.
We all do?
We all do. And it's all about you trusting. And again, there's so much information out there. And I feel like it's your own process of really getting enough validation for yourself to know that it's true. Part of that is trusting that. For me, it was in the beginning, well, I have all these teachers telling me that I have guides, but I didn't yet experience it. It's until I viscerally experienced writing and getting a name, I was like, oh my God, that's not me. It's literally, I'm hearing a name being given to me. And the same way that I receive communication from loved ones in spirit, so I could talk to your mom, your dad.
Which you have.
Yes, and it's a different vibration. It's actually feels a little bit lower than higher guidance, which is from guides and angels. I don't necessarily, for me, it's not important currently to understand which angel has come in right now.
Right.
Oftentimes I'll see, if the person is very open, for example, I'll see and know which guide is here. They'll show me what the guide looks like.
So do you call your dad an angel or he's not one of your angels?
I don't think my dad is one of my angels. I think he just crossed over.
Okay, good.
But there are souls that have crossed over that I sense are very high. So I know they're higher.
I see.
They can become guardian angels. Some of them, like a lot of kids that have passed before their time, for some reason they become guardian angels, or
Goosebumps.
it gives you a sensation of, that's the thing too. There's so much, again, information, it's how we sense it. And yes, I receive profound answers, the downloads come, I'm like, where did this answer come from? That's not in my awareness, but it's a practice. We all have this ability to tap in. It's through automatic writing.
Which I just journal,
but it's a listening that's a little different because it's not necessarily you thinking, and journaling is a little bit different.
I see what you mean. You're right.
It's not like me writing, I feel like shit today, blah, blah, blah. It's more, it's a flow of just listening. Sometimes it's like, it could be gibberish for people in the beginning where it's like, this doesn't make any, gibberish in the sense of like, life is beautiful and all you have are flowers. Like just write from this.
The thinking, that whatever comes into your brain.
Whatever comes into your brain, you're writing. And you'll find all of a sudden there's nuggets of gold there and wisdom. So at first it may be like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like flowers give us a heart that blooms. I'm just listening now to what, and I know that that's and it's like, it's all connected, right? It's like, you're talking about the garden, planting the seeds and taking out the weeds. That's the spiritual. You're explaining what our mission is on here on earth. It's just we need a
Yeah.
tangible way
Yes.
of delivering the information through
Life
our
is a
words.
garden.
Life is a garden.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true. It's a different kind of garden. This is so juicy. So I just want to share with you, my friend
Can I
Mims.
say too,
Yes,
like
please.
just bringing her in, because that's another thing. It's setting an intention. You have to set an intention to create what it is that you wish for. When I go in and receive guidance, I just called in on, I call them in. I call in our loved ones, guides, and angels. So I just call them in intentionally.
How do you say it? Tell me what you say.
Just that, like I did, I call in my guides and angels. I call in my loved ones. You could say it out loud or set the intention that I'm doing it. It's like an opening. That's just how it works in terms of receiving the information very quickly. It's the same way insight comes in for us. You get an aha moment, an idea that comes through very quickly. Whether it's through imagery in your mind's eye or through a thought that comes in. It's like, don't disregard.
Right. So you got to be paying attention.
You have to pay attention. It's on our awareness. That's why if you're all in the shit of your life and this is terrible and you're spiraling down, you're not going to get inspired. And it's practice. It's a muscle that we're training. And it's just like working out,
right.
I'm not.
I just went back. I can barely lift my arms, but I know.
And I haven't, and
right.
it's felt.
But that is true. It's a muscle. Like struggling and anything else, you get the struggle muscle. You get the whatever muscle,
Right.
Another thing I do want to say, though, in order to do this and see this, you must trust.
Yes.
With certainty.
Yes.
That there is something bigger than you. Because without that, you're not going to see anything. Correct?
Correct. And also, when you trust that you're being guided and led, it takes a load off of you to know that I was put here today for a reason. You can get signs along the way. It's like coming here, Alicia, to meet you today. Literally saw my dad's name on the wall of this building. And I was just like, I know I'm in the right place at the right time. Thank you for that wink. Like, it's just a wink, and it's literally happened to me in the car today. I'm just giving examples because there's no other way to describe it. It's our awareness of being in the moment. I don't know how much detail this is, but I'll try. Someone reached out for a reading, and it's a certain, they want to know whatever, how much
specifics.
It is, right? And I literally was debating about the amount because it's from Israel. It's not from here. So this is a reading that's happening from Israel. And literally when the amount came into my head, the car in front of me had that number on the car in front of me. So I'm like, so that's how quick it can be. Like, what are the chances of, this is a small example from today. I have plenty, but it's like the small example of how you can get confirmation from spirit very quickly. If you know that, again, you trust that it's not coincidence. Right. It's not. And then it's also you can let go, and that's when you experience magic. Because if you're the one who's the doer constantly and you're planning everything and you're doing in order to create, we have two ways of creating in our life. One is by us doing and creating everything that we see, which is a beautiful way. I create my life. It can come through with hard work. It can come through my thoughts that I have, I'm using my brain to create what it is. But a lot of creation can come from energy and the intention and the flow of energy to create. A thought becomes a thing. Right. If I know how to utilize that part, that's where we're headed in future-wise. Speaking of, I know it's like, no, that's where we're headed in terms of the evolution of humanity. Like in the beginning, it's like telepathic beings. We're learning to utilize our energy to create. We're expanding, we're going into like superhuman level. And so some people are just staying at a certain level of, and this is the expansion of humanity right now. We're becoming supernatural.
Right.
And
all of us can be.
It's this day and age where we've always evolved. The human that is today is not the human that was.
100%.
Right? So we're just in our next level of expansion, which is through our six senses. We will know, hopefully, how to fly.
I think you're right. If you trust in it enough, there might be.
Or if enough people believe something or know something to be true.
It will be.
Right.
But because there are things out there, I'm just going to use my lovely little amaryllis right here. We all know that plants need dirt and water. Bulbs don't need as
Why
much.
not try? I'm in this place of like, why not try? Try to change your perception, change your perspective, believe in magic. It's like the girl you were saying, like, I'm going to have a good day today. Show me what miracles come in today. Every time I remind myself, I'm like, we've talked about it in the last podcast about like, show me how good it can get, or I expect good things today, or I expect miracles
I
today.
love that you said that. I learned that from you.
Yeah, it changes the way you're receiving things. And so the littlest thing, which you would have been like, okay, so I found a penny on the floor. But when you look at it from a place of, oh my gosh, I found a
I
penny.
fully agree. I mean, you can ask my kids; they'll be like, "Oh, there goes mom again," because I'm like, "That's magic." Like, okay, mom. But
Anyway.
it is so true because if I didn't believe that that would have worked, I never would have gotten it, and then I wouldn't have known. So it's just amazing how things can go that
It's
way.
your energy too. You believe. I really believe, like, if you really believe something will succeed, something will grow, that's part of why
It's true because the minute
like,
you doubt it, you doubt it, and that's another thing. You're like, that could never work. Well, what if it does? Like, what if it does? Let's try it. Who cares? Because if it doesn't, we already thought it didn't. And if it does,
Right.
we're like, oh my God.
Exactly.
So I
Oh my
love
God.
that so much. So I got this amaryllis. I brought it today because I wanted it to be pretty. And then my friend Mims makes these beautiful candles. We call them rallies, but they're ancestor candles. You can't see, but I got my mom and dad here. I got my sisters and my mom here, and I have my kids there. And I knew Orly was coming, and she always brings in people from, other planets. So I set it all up so we're here.
Good.
Okay, so, and these are my Bubby's cups. So cheers to you, girlfriend.
Cheers.
Cheers to magic and believing.
Yeah. I'll also say, I'm just going with the things that come to my head. As you notice, I'm just
Let it rip, sister.
But cups that are from family, like you can literally hold on to the cup and tune in energetically. So this was another thing where I was like, oh my God, acting school, where you would we had to bring in photos, like old photos that we find, and scatter down different pieces like a watch or glasses, and we had to create characters from that and get information. And literally, but when you hold on to a cup, like if you're really tuned in, you can really receive information from the person, from the cups that, like, these were your grandmother's.
My Bubby.
Yeah, and so she'll also be able to start bringing up memories.
I think that's so funny because I always use them when I do a podcast, but I never was waiting to hear from her. But I always look at them and think of her.
This is your mom's mom?
Yeah, no, it's my dad's mom.
Okay.
I think, you know what? Actually, I got a couple of cups from both grandmas. My mom had everybody's, and I got them. I'm not
There's a
sure what
sentimental,
grandma. I
like,
know, I love that. We got to hug on our cups, you guys, and bring them in.
Yes, and
Yes.
just like connecting with them. It's our way of remembering them also, and they love that. I know from my experiences, like they love to bring up jewelry that we have that they gave you. It's just
Right.
like when you connect with them, you remember them, and then they're there with you in that moment.
So good. I love heirlooms like that.
Yeah.
I keep everything. My ex-husband used to always tease me because I would be like always paying homage to my mom. I'd set up a table with like some of her hankies because I wanted her there, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a believer.
Yeah.
So,
You have a strong sense of smell. I know we talked about this
right.
too,
I
but,
smell
like, you
that's my thing. My
yeah.
smell is my thing.
Like, she's there because you smell all of a sudden that.
Or I'll be walking outside and I'm kind of having a funky day and then something delicious comes right under my nose and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
how can that be delicious and me in a shitstorm? So no, I'm
Yeah.
done with the shitstorm and ready to be delicious.
Yeah.
A little sign.
Yeah.
So I love it all. So we got our candles lit, we got our Bubby cups, we got our waterless amaryllis, and here we go with our 5 questions. Manishtana.
We didn't even start yet. Oh my
No,
god!
but we did. We actually got a few of them on here because my first
Okay.
one is if or does believing in angels help me with my life correction or finding peace? Do you have to believe in order to see?
Let me ask myself that.
Okay. Because you kind of answered that, but
yeah.
now that I'm asking you direct, let's see that.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is if you don't believe it, then you're not going to be able to um, perceive it literally. Like if you don't believe it, you're not going to be able. So it's starting to work on your belief system in order and expanding your ability to believe something, even if you're not seeing it yet.
Right.
Just that's what hope is actually. And so that's a seed again of something that I'm not yet experiencing, but I'm placing my belief that it can, or that. And like you had mentioned too, Alicia, it's one step at a time,
Right.
but you have to plant that seed of
Right.
hope.
Right. I love that. So the angels will come when you have hopeful. Plus, the truth is,
When
they
you're
might
open
even
to
be here.
receiving.
The angels might even be there, but just since you're not open,
Exactly. They are here.
they are here.
All your guides are here, your angels are here. They won't come to you if you don't call upon them.
Did you hear that?
And so if you want to call upon, I'm ready to be, so this is something you could say, I'm ready to experience miracles. I'm ready to be open to see a sign from my angels. The way they can come through is through feathers that are on the floor,
I'm a
or
collector
like,
of those.
a random feather. Just look for the thing that's a little bit out of the way. They'll be happy, and you can even ask them, show me something where it will be no shadow of a doubt that this was my angel,
Right.
because it's going to be in such a weird circumstance that I won't have that doubt. And you start to build your belief in something slowly, one step at a time. You grow that belief when you experience it over and over and over, but in a very specific way to you, where you get goosebumps attached with
Which
it.
I have all day since I've seen you.
Like you get goosebumps with it, along with it, you'll get a very specific knowing. Even if you doubt it, it's like, this couldn't be, someone will repeat it during the day. You'll hear someone else say the word angel again. It's very subtle. It'll be subtle, but it's just you opening up your ability to see it. And even if you're doubting, just say, okay, maybe
Right.
that was a sign. Maybe. Show me more. Start playing with that, because how are you going to believe?
Exactly. You
right?
aren't even looking if you don't believe. I
Right.
don't believe it, so there's no way you're going to be seeing it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
There are some that say I have to see it to believe it, and some that say I have to believe it in order to see it.
Right.
So we are believers.
But you can also, I have to see it to
Oh, well, that's
believe
true.
it.
That's true.
I have to see it to believe it. That's how you look. Again, with my guides, when the teachers would tell me you have an Indian guide, a Native American guide, I was like, okay, how do I know that's true? That I could start believing a lot of quirky information. And we're at a day and age, by the way, where there's going to be a lot of information, because everybody experiences their life in a very personal way. So it could be true to them, but your way of experiencing life is completely different. My way of seeing magic and experiencing it is different. We're
Right,
teaching each other
right,
now.
exactly.
It's being in a neutral state, open to understanding, okay, they've had that experience, but my suggestion is that you experience it for yourself. When you know it to be true, it has to come from you truly having the experience. So again, she would tell me, I have guides. She gave me the exercises, or this specific teacher, of how I can start hearing, through automatic writing. But when they came through without me even intending it, that was the beauty.
Right.
It caught me by surprise.
So you saw them and then you believed.
I didn't see them. I was writing, and it was the way I would connect with loved ones in spirit. Again, it's like me just hearing what I'm hearing and writing it down. And then the guide had said, I am, and declared their name. And I was like, oh my God. I had a whole full body. I was like, what the hell was that? That is not coming from me. And then they would give me information that I would then Google and look up. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know this. Or look at Jupiter. And there's so many downloads that I would just write, because and then I would be like, I need to go every single night, go and meet up with
Jupiter.
this person giving me this information, because it was just beautiful. They even said to me, go look up Jupiter and see the significance. And then this is something that they said. It was like, if you're looking for abundance, go and look at Jupiter and its meaning. And then I found out that Jupiter was the planet of luck and abundance. And so it's all
How can you not believe?
Because I didn't know this. And even if it's my internal knowing, who cares
Somebody
how
put
the
it there.
information's coming? It could be my higher self. That's why I keep saying, someone will call it your higher self. Someone will call it, we have different characters within us. I don't like to go down the different rabbit holes.
Right.
I just know one step at a time, taking the information and knowing that there is more here. Again, with ETs too, by the way, and extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
It's like some people say they're interdimensional beings, like different dimensions. So the more, again, we're open to seeing them, more people start seeing them because they can show up and disappear, right?
Have you ever?
Yes.
And what did it look like?
It was blue, but it was...
It was the yellow elephant? It was blue? A Smurf?
It wasn't a Smurf. For me, the experience was I still am figuring out what the hell did I see. But
Were you up?
Yes. So this is another piece that's important in terms of... I'm sorry, I'm going
No,
on and on.
you
I'm
keep
like,
going. This is too good.
I'm like, thank you for giving me so I can express it. Because anyway.
Blue.
Yes, blue, that's part of the experience that we're talking about believing. I will only believe it when I see it.
Right.
I put myself in a place of believing, and I want to experience miracles, show me how good it can get, and then I let it go. I let go of how, because wanting something so much, you're holding on. There's something about God showing you these miracles when you're in complete egoless state.
Right.
The more I can put my ego aside, because that's the part of me that wants the success, when I can put my ego, and that's how I actually hear the most from loved ones and spirit, is when I have to literally take a moment, put Orly, ego, whatever that is, and doing good, being like, I want to do good, all of that is ego.
Totally.
And I put it aside. I let it be quiet. That's the grounding piece. So you cleanse and ground or do a practice to receive. And then when you're in a humble place, like Moses, speaking of Moses, there was humbleness there. When you're in that humble place of openness, every small thing can be a miracle. But that's also the place where I know where I'm not expecting anything, and that's when I get surprised. So if you're open and not expecting, that's how that experience came to me with the blue being.
Was it a being?
Yeah, well, what it was, did we not talk about this
No.
last time?
The hell?
Okay. It's connected to your questions,
Yes,
right?
go.
Like,
That's my last question, so it is. Go.
Okay, so I was, okay, this is a synchronistic story. I guess I have to share it now, too, in terms of how magic comes to be. So basically, I had a friend, Regina. She asked me if I wanted to go to her retreat in France. This was September 2 years ago. And I was like, how am I going to go in September? The kids are starting school. My brain could not how am I going to go? So I said no. And she actually invited me to come and talk at the retreat. And I was like, it's just not happening. 3 months later, she reached out again. And she's like, Orly, my friend who is climbing Mount Everest can't come to the retreat because she's
stuck on Mount Everest.
She's going to climb Mount Everest, which was symbolic. This woman achieving this peak in her life. Bought the retreat ticket already. Come and be part of the retreat. And I was like, okay. At that point, my heart wants this so badly. Obviously, I just can't figure out in my mind how the hell is this going to happen. I literally received a birthday gift from Roy's dad a month before for my birthday. Was the exact amount almost to the T of the flight ticket. So basically getting the flight to France, I already had that as a gift that I'd received. All I had to do was figure out okay, Roy, take care of the kids, figure out the details. And I just said yes to her. I said, I don't know how, but yeah, I'm saying yes. Anyway, I get on all worked out. His mom actually came out from Israel. She was helping him with the kids all worked out. I get on the plane, literally in the grayest airport. Alicia, everything's gray, right? And when you're flying out of the airport.
Of LA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Monarch butterfly literally outside my window.
In the airplane.
in the airplane. I'm like, what the hell is a monarch butterfly doing
Letting you know
in
you're
this
in the
gray
right flight.
concrete place? And now a monarch butterfly is a sign for my dad, has always been from the day he passed, because I have it tattooed here. We got it together. So I was like weeping at this point. Like, this is a gift. It was literally on my birthday week too. So I felt like this was a gift for my dad. I'm going on this amazing retreat, 5-day retreat in France for free, basically.
Jeez.
And I end up in this beautiful house, Regina's house, the retreat. It's all about going within. I gave myself finally time. This is like 5 years. I'm with kids. I never had gone alone on vacation.
Of course.
Okay, so anyway, long story short, I set an intention in the beginning of the retreat that I want to experience something that I want to believe, that I just was like, show me something, again, magical. On the last, and the whole retreat was incredible. On the last day of the retreat, we go and have a farm to table experience with this couple. She's a death doula, and he just lost his wife like a couple years earlier. They were partners. Their whole story was some complete synchronicity. And what they do is they literally bake bread from the land, and they break it every morning. They have a market that they sell the bread. And they're spiritual teachers. He's like a spiritual teacher. Speaking of guru guy, I was like, his name was Bruno. The whole entire trip I've been singing We Don't Talk About Bruno in my head. And in the movie too, Bruno is like that character who's like, can receive divine guidance. So I meet them. I have excruciating stomach ache, because that's another thing I realized. Our body is the vessel to receive the information. And if it's not clear, it's really hard for very high guidance to come through. If you're not, like, that's why they say don't eat so much meat. Anyway, so I was like in this excruciating pain. He kept looking at me, and I'm like, why is this guy looking at
the
me?
Bruno.
The Bruno. Like, why is he looking at me? Like, what am I, like, why is he?
Because you're so pretty. Why
No,
wouldn't
but like,
he?
it was weird. It was to the point of like, is he seeing something that I don't know? And then I find out his wife's a death doula, so I ask her all these questions. Do you actually see spirit come out of the body? Like, just that, having that conversation there. Finally, he ends up, everyone has to introduce themselves. I said, it was finally the first time I'd come out, and I was like, he's like, what do you do? I said, okay, don't push it aside. This is what I do. I'm a spiritual medium. And he went, oh my God. He had this whole like reaction.
Because he probably knew.
Well, that's the thing. We ended up taking a walk together. He like, out with the group, was doing their thing, and he wanted to speak. And I was like, why am I here? Am I supposed to deliver a message from his wife who passed? And I started just sharing the imagery I was seeing. And then he goes to me, you're not here because of coincidence. There's a reason you're here. And I just had this, and I kept seeing a lei of flowers, as if I need to give him flowers, or he's being presented with a lei of flowers that you give like initiation.
Hawaii
and
kind of
Hawaii
thing, when you get to Hawaii.
And I kept saying this to him, and then he turned it back to me and he said, it's not me about giving him, it's like you're being given this moment. I just had a huge aha moment, and I was like, what's going on? And then his whole face, there was a blue being emanating from him, coming in and out. So I was seeing, it wasn't his aura. It was a blue being, a long face, coming in and out. And then everything he was saying from that point on, I was like in complete awe. I knew he was a spiritual teacher. He then started talking about Kabbalah. He said, my family name is David. I don't know why I have this family name. He goes into the kitchen, brings out all these Kabbalah books. He's like, that our chakra system that's inside is also with the planets. And he starts explaining all these things that I'm like,
wow.
I've been learning, and like the tree of life and the Sphirot, and then he takes us to this tree and literal and physical reality. But his whole time, this blue being is coming in and out. I'm like experiencing this, and he kept giving me messages. He's like, confidence, Orly. He's like, confidence.
Which I think is the only thing and now you've come a long way, but I think that's you have everything in the world going for you for this.
Yeah, he was just giving me confidence.
Did you tell him I see you as blue?
No, I didn't. I was just in the experience. And then on the last day, and I was crying, and I was just this whole spiritual experience. I had a huge moment. But then on the last day, we were gonna go, and I wrote him a letter as a thank you letter. I didn't know he was gonna come. I basically wanted Regina to leave him this letter, and I was like, what kind of gift can I give him? And there was a beautiful feather on the ground. And I was like, I'm just gonna gift him the feather and the letter. So I have this in hand. He comes through the door, and he's like, I had to say goodbye again. Because for him, it was also this meaningful thing.
Of course.
And he has a bag in his hand, and this guy has like ponytail. Okay, this was one other piece of information he told me, was that, I know we're running, are we like running?
No,
late?
no.
Okay.
Go.
He told me that he was after his wife passed, he was in South America, and a shaman there told him that people would start coming to him to learn from him. So when he saw me and I'd come there, he knew that that prophecy came true in a sense or something. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever, that blue being came in that moment to deliver the message. When on the last day, he comes with a bag. And so I'm like, oh my God, Bruno, here's the letter. Here's a gift for you. I gave him the feather. And he smiled, and he had this like funny grin on his face. He's like, here's a gift for you too. I brought you something. And he said, don't open it until you get to the airport. So I get to the airport, I open up the bag, there's a feather inside. So he gifted me the same exact thing. Like we each gifted each other. There was this like this ceremony of like gifting the same thing. And inside he gave me 7 wheats from his land, 7 pieces of wheat that he gave me. Now 7 to me has so much symbolism.
Right, totally. It's such a spiritual number.
Such a spiritual. So he gave me 7 pieces of wheat. And then the flight that I end up getting on is Spirit Airline in Canada.
Yeah.
I'm like,
But you did
what?
it, yeah.
And then I was like, what? Like they changed the flight. I'm on Spirit. Then I get on the plane. The Spirit is like, we are with the indigenous people.
I know they are, yeah.
And I was like, this is just like, that whole experience to me, I'm describing it, but it was magical.
Oh my
And it was personal.
God, of course.
But-
Have you heard from him?
No, well, by the way, the whole time he doesn't speak a word of English. So there's a translator there the whole entire time translating. But I could understand. It's almost like I could understand everything. Okay, another piece of magic was that he goes, you know what my favorite movie was? He was like, there's a movie from the 80s. It's called The Beautiful Green. It's about this. Have you ever seen this?
No, but so weird that you said that because I read about it yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
They had a list of old movies, and The Beautiful Green was on the flipping.
Okay, see how it works?
Orly, I can't even believe it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so The Beautiful Green, he goes, this is my favorite movie. I'm like, what? The date of the release of the film was the day that we had met that day.
Not the year, the day.
The date, yeah. So I was like,
those are the things she looks for, and that's how she knows she's connected to magic.
Right. I Googled the movie right afterwards. We put our love into the bread, and it has to rise.
In Kabbalah, bread's a big one, too.
Just like how our awareness arises. You have to leave time for it, for your awareness to rise. So he was making all of the parallels, just like you do with the garden. He was using bread and the food from the land, because that's the connection. We have to stay in the physical reality.
Right. That's so beautiful and juicy. So I'm making some big decisions in my life right now about, should I leave this country? Should I retire and go I can't really retire, but should I move? I'm seriously thinking of moving to Mexico. And I just want to know if you see that as a reality, if you see peace around me, will I find like my place on earth that will be okay, and that I won't have to always be like, is this going to be it for me? Or
okay, so because I know this part of that question being in your existence, what I was being shown is complete yes, in the sensation of so many good things happening, and also the different opportunities that are available for you if you want to create that. So it's our choice. Right? If we're doubting something, or if we don't know if it's going to be better than where I am now, you have to be careful when you make a choice. It's not you're running away from something.
Right.
But then you can also ask for the signs. If it's right for me, show me this, so that you get the confidence that it's meant for you. But I know there's a lot of opportunity waiting for you there, Alicia, that you're creating. And you create your reality. So I'll just end with the fact that we are learning how to create. We're co-creators, but we create our reality. And again, in terms of like where the future is going, there's the humans that are going to understand and evolve with this consciousness that we're tapping into and growing, and learning how to become co-creators. That's the stage we're at right now. How do we actually create our desired reality and stay in that without letting, is it gonna be good?
Right, and
It's
worrying
like-
about the whys, what ifs.
Right, not worrying about the what ifs. And there's ways to not worry, to get confirmation for yourself so that you can make the decisions that are hard with more ease. And that's through the signs, that's through answers coming to you from other people. You have to be open to, the answers don't come, it comes from other people, it comes from information that coincidentally shows up.
Sam's building.
But you have to be aware. So when you're aware of the struggle, you ask the questions surrounding the struggle, you're going to receive the answer. The universe is going to provide you. It's going to be like, you're going to be like, oh my God, I just thought that, and here's the answer. That's when you make the connection in your
Right.
brain.
It's so
Because-
beautiful
yeah,
and juicy. Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you.
wonderful conversation.
Like-
Life is a garden. We can put all kinds of goodies into our garden. And the longer we stay around Orly, the juicier it will be. Okay, we have to end, but I see you have something.
I just want to pull a card for us.
Okay.
Or like a message for today.
The message for today. This was so good. We needed this, Orly. The world needs that.
Okay, look at her. She's like,
She's beautiful with an apple, a tattoo, and
and all of the garden around her.
Okay,
and
good.
Enjoy growth and reap rewards.
enjoy growth and reap the rewards. We're going to end it on that note, because that's exactly why we had Orly here today. So we can enjoy our growth and reap the rewards.
Exactly.
Thank you, girlfriend.
Thank
Fabulous.
you. Thank you.